You are going to be bulletin editor today, so you'll take minutes, and we greatly appreciate that.
Okay, I'll give it a crack here. I've had a little trouble getting in. Oh my God. Jesus.
That's okay. I'm glad you're wearing your running shirt. You're looking good, my friend. All right. Well, all right. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'm John Schroep, president of the Birmingham Rotary Club, and I welcome everyone here today, start of Monday, May 4th. And we're doing this, of course, via Zoom. And I want to thank Reagan Gilshire and Wendy Hoff for your assistance in the technology making this all possible. That having been said, we're going to mute everyone, and Bill Roy, our president-elect, will lead us in both the Pledge of Allegiance and also our patriotic song.
All right, I'm unmuted. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I think I'll sing Our Country 'Tis of Thee. And before I sing, let's have a moment of silence, short moment of silence for our country that it may all pull together during this moment of crisis. Thank you. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. And now, everyone, will recite the four-way test. And thank you for displaying that. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Well, thank you. And Chris Winans.
Yes.
Would you lead us in an invocation or inspiration, please?
I will. Rotarians, we stay focused on the objectives we have for the world: peace, tranquility, a true brotherhood of man, freedom from hunger, from oppression, from sickness, the freedom to choose our own destinies. We reaffirm our commitment to our simple Rotary four-way test for all we do and support. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? We reaffirm our commitment to high ethics in all we do, and we give thanks for all the blessings, opportunities, and responsibilities that befall us as Rotarians. In this time of uncertainty, we continue with optimism, renewed energy, and a commitment to service our fellow men and women. Please, Lord of the universe, help us to serve. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you, Chris. And you had a recent birthday. I think you turned 29.
Oh, God bless you.
So happy birthday from all your fellow Rotarians. Our guest today, Linda, the president of the Troy Rotary Club. Linda, are you there? And would you want to introduce yourself fully and tell us a little bit about what's going on with Troy?
I am Linda Ludy. I am president of Troy Rotary. Troy has been virtual each week since March the 25th. We have tried out speakers. We've tried out an interactive question answer session. We've done a new member fireside chat. We've done an induction. essentially anything that you can do in the real world, we can at least try to do in the virtual world. The connections aren't quite as authentic, but it does get the job done, and we do stay in touch with each other. A good number of emails go out, and I actually get a few more responses. Maybe people are bored, but I do get more responses than sometimes you do for email. Troy Rotary is donating food for homeless and kids, and also donating to the PPE project that District 6380 is working on.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me visit you. If any of you are interested in visiting, let us know, and we can send you a link for that too.
Well, thank you. You're a great club and a great leader. And we have also as a guest today, Dave Pierce. Dave, want to introduce yourself and your club and a little bit about what's going on.
Hi, my name is Dave Pierce. I'm the president of the Romeo Rotary Club. And to be honest, we're a very, very small club right now. We're kind of struggling and we're kind of weathering out the storm here with the coronavirus thing. Kind of struggling to do what we can online, and that's mostly, frankly, by email at this point. But we're there, and we'll ride it out as best we can. Thanks for having me today.
Well, thank you, Dave. Do we have any other guests? Okay, hearing none.
How's he spell his name? How's Dave spell his name?
John Carol Marsh just got.
Is she still muted?
You got Carol Marsh.
Yes, unmute yourself, Carol.
Down to the bottom. Just scroll down to the bottom.
Okay. You get it?
Yep.
I'm a former Birmingham Rotarian, and I'm currently the president of the Frankfort, Michigan Club. And we are trying to figure out whether we want to go to virtual meetings maybe instead of real ones for a while. So I just wanted to check and see how this works for you.
Well, thank you, Carol. Welcome.
Familiar faces.
Yeah, nice to see you.
You need Megan Reagan. You need Reagan.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Any other guests?
And Wendy.
Yep.
All right. Hearing none. All right. I wanted to mention, Linda mentioned the question of the week, if you will, or a question that sometimes may be asked at meetings. And I've incorporated some of that in our virtual meetings. Our question today is, and I'll put it out there now, we're not going to answer it now. We'll answer it before our speaker, but you can start to think about it. And it is, do you have a tattoo? If yes, what is it? And if no, what would you get? So moving on, then I want to thank our volunteers for today's meeting. Chris Winans, thank you for that lovely inspiration. Dave Wonderdown, thank you for being our bulletin editor. Our Rotary update, Brian Frank, and our speaker to the host will be Mark Anderson. Brian, are you available to provide us with a Rotary update?
I am, yeah.
Thank you, my friend. Please.
Okay, so our Rotary update is about the endowment board meeting on the 22nd of April, where we discussed open grants for the current grant cycle. We did a couple things. One, we decided to set up a COVID fund, which are grants that specifically go towards COVID-related projects and outreach within the Metro Detroit and greater area. One of those, we did a district grant for the district itself, and they're providing PPE for Beaumont Hospital and their healthcare workers, so we're contributing to that. We decided to help JVS with the financial literacy program and navigating financial struggles and challenges throughout this crisis. And then we also decided to help out Baldwin Library with their 3D printing program and providing, again, they're providing protective face shields and masks for first responders and workers in the Metro Detroit area. So those were three of the ones that we decided out of that COVID fund. We still have some money left available, so as projects come up, we can meet as a board and discuss them and approve them. We also decided to we're supporting Community House with another annual donation, and Wish Upon a Team. We decided to give Wish Upon a Team $2,500. The impact there, Wish Upon a Team, they go into hospitals and surgical centers, and they decorate the rooms for young adults, young kids, sports themes or whatever they're into. They decorate them, themes like Red Wings or whatnot, or and so that's enough to do 10 rooms. So there's 10 people that are directly impacted with that donation. So that's a big one. And that's what we did for the endowment board back on the 22nd of April. We will be having another meeting in a couple weeks here in May, in about 2 weeks in May. We've got another grant request from Micah 6. They're the grocery store chain or food pantry in Pontiac. That's not really a chain. They've got the neighborhood gardens, and they do the gardening, and they put all the food to market, and they sell it to the local community there. And then we're also discussing a couple changes to our bylaws at that meeting as well. So that's your Rotary update and the endowment board update. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Well, thank you. Hang in there for just a second. And I wanted to mention to our club members that if any of you have any suggestions as to local COVID-19 projects, that you voice those, and you can send an email to me or call me. And as Brian correctly pointed out, there still are additional dollars in our endowment fund to allocate to COVID projects. So we should keep that in mind and make use of those vital dollars. That may be a subject too that we can talk about in part at our next club happy hour. And that's, Brian, would you agree to host that this Thursday, May 7th at 5:30?
Yeah, so we're going to host that this Thursday at 5:30. The theme is going to be wear a hat that you can tell a story about. So I wear the hat to remember that. So wear a hat, a crazy hat, wild hat. Whoever has the best theme, or it could be Cinco de Mayo, whoever's the wildest and craziest, coolest hat that gets the most comments. When we next get together for a real happy hour, your drinks are on me. I'll pay for your happy hour. So wild and crazy hats, Thursday, 5:30. Everybody's welcome, obviously.
May 7th. Well, thank you, Brian. We appreciate that. And for those of you who didn't make it last time, which again, we're going to have these every 2 weeks. Brian hosted, and we had the crazy shirt contest, so to speak. We saw some interesting ones. Moving on, our membership minute, Linda Hatfield couldn't be present today. She's attending another Rotary meeting, but she wishes everybody well. I will say to you that what I encourage everyone to do is watch membership webinars and speeches from recent conventions and the International Assembly in the new club programming collection on Vimeo. So there are resources out there if you're not getting enough of your Rotary fix to take a look at that and to get an update then from RI's website. All right. And speaking of RI, it's important that you save the dates. The 2020 Rotary Virtual Convention is going to take place from June 20th through the 26th. And my understanding is that is a free virtual event. So again, the 2020 Virtual Convention, June 20 through the 26th. All right. Well, I mentioned the question of the week, And I'm going to throw that out there again and invite those of you who wish to comment. We'll spend just a couple minutes on this, but I think that some people are exceedingly proud of their tattoos, and there's a story behind tattoos. They're becoming much more prevalent. And so I'll throw it out there. Do you have a tattoo? And if yes, what is it? And if no, what would you get? Reagan, I'm looking at you. You're smiling. Would you care to say anything?
I'm counting. I think I have 7 or 8 tattoos.
Yes.
They're all in places I can show, but I'm not going to show all of them. I have this one on my forearm that I'm born on May 21st, which is on the cusp of Taurus and Gemini. So I mirrored a bull nose to nose. So it's a Taurus and Gemini together. And one of my icons is Robin Williams for multiple reasons, mostly because of his generosity and his spirit, and also his fight with anxiety and depression and mental disorders. And I have a quote on my side that says, "Oh, Captain, my captain." And it has his, I don't care, you guys can see it. It's Mork and Mindy's, from Mork and Mindy, his buttons that were on his overalls that he wore. And they're in the shape of a semicolon, which is in support for suicide and depression. And then I just have my 18-year-old mistake and my 19-year-old mistake, which mean nothing to me. And I have one on my back here that's for all my dogs. So now you know.
That's wonderful.
So I assume I'm the only one who's going to talk about their tattoos.
You may be, but it's a Rotary endorsed question, I assure you.
Yeah, I actually saw, to bring it back to Rotary, I went to I think it was a district, no, it was an international conference. I think it was the one in Atlanta. And I was behind a girl who was walking, and she had a tattoo on the back of her neck it was a Rotary symbol. And I was like, wow, you're dedicated. And she's actually another 3rd generation Rotarian. And so
I remember seeing that. I saw that with you.
Yeah, I think you were with me actually. Yeah, when we were walking, it was in the museum or something that we went to. And she was diehard Rotarian. So I thought that was a pretty awesome tattoo.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I think Linda from Troy and Dave from Romeo. Did Sparky suggest to you that you get tattoos over your heart as well when you became president?
No, he didn't.
Bill Roy, watch out. Well, that's so. Anyone else? Anyone? If you don't have a tattoo and you've been thinking about it, what would you get?
John, it's Wendy. I have 2 tattoos. The first one I had, it was on my hip. I'm a big Wizard of Oz fan, and I have, if you can imagine the house when it fell on the legs of the witch. So I have the legs of the witch and the ruby slippers, and that's on my front hip. And then on my shoulder, my grandmother collected owls.
Yep.
And one day I was talking to her, I said, Grandma, I think I'm going to get another tattoo. And she's like, well, what are you going to get? And I said, I don't know. Maybe I'll get an owl for you. She goes, oh, Wendy, if I was your age, I'd get one too. And I said, well, when I figure out what I'm going to get, I'll let you know. Well, a month later, she was on her deathbed. I lived here in Detroit. I had to drive across state to meet her. She waited for me to get there. And as I'm holding her hand, a latch hook rug that she'd made in the 70s that was always in her house of an owl was on her wall. And I looked up at that latch hook rug and I said, Grandma, I know what that tattoo is going to be. I said, I'm going to get that owl from the latch hook rug here, right here on my shoulder, so you've always got my back. So I have the ugliest owl ever on my back. And the funniest thing is when my cousins have seen me with my shirt so they could see it, they're like, that's Grandma's rug. So
Oh.
that's my favorite tattoo. I have to get it redone because it didn't heal properly, but who knows? Maybe I'll get a Rotary symbol around my belly button. Anyone in for that one?
Don't do it. Never around the belly button. Ever, ever.
Anyone else?
Never on your body where it expands and contracts off.
Right.
That's great, Wendy. Thank you. Anybody else?
I have a comment. From this whole thing, of course, the generation I come from, no tattoos, thank you. But I went to a website about tattoos, and I learned so much about what it means. And the thing that they said was you should have a theme throughout it. That was the mistake people make, is they do random things. Have a tattoo theme. So I just thought I'd throw that out.
Yeah, Dave, I'll follow that up. I go to tattoo conventions all the time just because I work for another charity that has a booth there. And that's my problem with the one that I got on my arm here. I'd love to do more around it, but now I've got to kind of theme it around there. And actually I have one more that means a lot to me, and it's this one. And it's actually Morse code for BFF, J and R, and it's my best friend that I've had, Jonathan, since 5th grade. So we got matching tattoos. So ever since I turned 38, I've gotten like 6 or 7 more tattoos, and they've all meant something to me. But the ones when I remember when I got my first one on my back, my mom saw it, who's on this call, and she goes, "Oh my God, it's so big," because it's about that big. It's about
that big.
It took 2.5 hours to do. And I said, "Well, how big did you expect it?" And she holds up her fingers like this big. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Well, those are great stories, everyone, and thank you for sharing those with us. And I think Mark Anderson, are you available? Mark, is Mark here? I'm not seeing him. He was going to be our host to the speaker. I do have a short bio, but Wendy, do you have do you have a bio too? Would you want to do the intro? You're muted.
Yeah, I don't have it handy. I
Okay,
have to go and pull it up. So if you've got it in front of you, that would be excellent.
I do. So I'd like to introduce an esteemed member of our club, our speaker today, Vic Pooler, CEO of Great Lakes Boy Scouts of America in Detroit. I had the pleasure of attending an event with Vic, and so I was able to see both from his colleagues and various other members how well respected Vic is as an executive and as a person. And Vic has worked for the Boy Scouts of America, so I understand, for over 31 years with roles in Springfield, Ohio, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Cincinnati, Findlay, Ohio, and since December of 13 in his current position in Detroit. He's also had a position as Major Gifts Officer of Norton Healthcare in Louisville, Kentucky, and a professional headhunter. I did not know that, Vic. That's very important. Now, Vic is an Eagle Scout, a Rotarian for over 20 years, a past president of the Rotary Club of Ann Arbor North, was honored by Rotary in various awards, and holds multiple Paul Harris Awards, actively involved in numerous club service roles and projects. He's co-chair of our fundraising committee. Vic is a graduate of Ohio University, and he has a bachelor's degree in zoology pre-med and a minor's in psychology and education. During his personal time, he enjoys golf, bicycling, weightlifting, classic cars, gardening, and home restoration. Well, you're a handy guy, I'll tell you, Vic. We're looking forward to hearing from you, my friend. It's all yours.
Well, thanks so much, John, and certainly a much longer introduction than what was required, but appreciate sharing some of that background. particularly interested. I thought I would start with a video today just to let you know that scouting is alive and well, and some of the things that have been going on over the past few weeks to promote scouting during the shutdown. So, Wendy, let's see if this works.
Right now, life has us keeping our distance, but there's never been a more important time. Used to, sure, but across the country, Scouts are coming together to learn, grow, and serve even while apart, because that's what Scouting has always been about. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Our culture is one of perseverance and determination. Our foundation is that of always being prepared. When you think about it, we've been preparing for times like these for over 100 years. Because for the past century, we've been pioneers, adventurers, helpers, scouts. Nothing can stop us. We've got this. We are Scouts.
Thank you, Wendy. I thought that that would be appropriate for a number of reasons, although that footage was not shot locally. You may have picked that up. There has been a lot of virtual programs going on here in the greater Detroit area and throughout the state of Michigan. In fact, just this past weekend, I had an opportunity to go in and look at some of our scouts that were participating in a virtual camporee that was going on in backyards throughout greater Detroit and across the state. And I got a particular interest in the s'mores competition, being somewhat of a chocolate lover, and I did not have my own supplies here, and so I enjoyed it vicariously through various pictures. And you know, there was all kind of baking and cooking competitions that went on. And so it was just enjoyable to see the creativity of our volunteer leaders throughout the area that are still reaching out and providing a program and maintaining contact with their youth. And so that was encouraging to see. I should note, we poked a little fun at the color of my shirt. I have been spending some time learning about Zoom etiquette, and colors are suggested, and in showing how much respect I have to the esteemed group on this call. This is the first time I've worn a tie in 6 weeks, so I wanted to make sure I still knew how to tie it. So it is still working when we go back to some semblance of what the new reality is. So appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about what scouting's been doing over the last year or so, and certainly how we see ourselves coming out of this unique situation. I'd be remiss if I didn't note a few highlights from 2019. I always joke that I spend at least the first 6 months bragging about our accomplishments from the previous year, and this year even more so, because we were recognized back earlier this year. When I say we, the Great Lakes Field Service Council, which covers Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties, which I have the honor and privilege of being directly responsible, of our 6th consecutive year of membership growth, along with balanced budget. We are the only Boy Scout council in the country that can say that. And I think it's a testimony to both the dedication and commitment of the volunteers that I have the privilege of working with on our board, that are putting together those programs and infrastructure to support the experiences that our young people are getting to have, as well as the quality program that our volunteers are putting on that young people continue to come out and join. And when we look back over some of those numbers, about 22,000 young men and young ladies participate in our Cub Scouts and Scouts BSA programs. Some of you probably were aware of the fact that we started letting young ladies in the fall of 2018, and we expanded it to all of the programs in 2019. And so in amongst that nearly 26,000 members that we have here in the Great Lakes Field Service Council, there's almost 1,500 young ladies. And I'm really excited. I've been watching advancement. They continue to work on advancement projects. And one of the things that when we first started letting the teenage gals into the program in Scouts BSA, I had a number of the young ladies that said they were going to be the first Eagle Scout in the area. And I have 6 or 7 that are jockeying for that distinction. And I think what they're going to end up doing is there's going to be a special award recognizing not just the young ladies here in Michigan, but across the country that get across that finish line in similar time frame to recognize them as a part of an inaugural class. And I'm very confident that we'll have a strong contingent, because we always have a very strong contingent of Eagles making it to that plateau. In fact, last year, 460 young men attained the rank of Eagle Scout here in the Great Lakes Field Service Council. We have one of the strongest contingents every year in that distinction. Across the country, 3.5 or 4% of the young people that join Scouting make it to the rank of Eagle. Here in Detroit, it's over 6%. And so again, I think that's a reflection on the quality of the leaders that we have that are engaging in the program, as well as the commitment of those young people. I'm also very proud of the growth that we've had in our Explore program. Exploring is a workforce development program that's based within businesses here throughout the greater Detroit area. When I arrived here back 6.5 years ago, we had less than 400 explorers throughout the business sector in our territory. This last year, we ended at close to 4,000, which means we have the second largest exploring program in the country. Only New York City has more explorers and workforce programs than we do. And so I'm very proud of how the business community wants to get in and partner with us to talk to young people about what the opportunities are in the workforce here in greater Detroit. I talk to business leaders all the time that are concerned with the young people that continue to leave Southeast Michigan. And so the opportunity that we can talk to our young people and share with them what the opportunities are here in Southeast Michigan, I think helps us all the better. And so I'm also really proud of the amount of service. When you ask people what are their impressions of Scouting, you get a large cross-section and variety of answers. But one of the things that almost everybody mentions at some level is service. And because of that high number of Eagle Scout awards I just noted, and a variety of other things that we put in, including partnering with Gleaners, a food bank, an organization that certainly our club is very aware of. We collected 180,000 pounds of food to be redistributed through Gleaners last year. And in the total amount of service hours that our young people provided back to our communities, 157,719 hours. And so teaching our young people to get involved in the community and great organizations like Rotary and other things is certainly something that's still extremely important to us. We're still about getting people into the outdoors, and we provide a lot of financial assistance to help our young people do that. We've had some generous benefactors over the years who have created endowment funds to help generate that, and that helps provide some interest income. but we gave almost $20,000 to young people last year so that they could participate in a summer experience. And so I like to see how that program has continued to grow. One of the new programs that we've had tremendous expansion in over the last several years is we bus kids from our inner city school districts up to D-Bar A, up in Metamora, and they get to have an overnight camping experience up there. And I remember 5 or 6 years ago when we first started that, we only had 40 or 50 kids that took advantage of it. This past summer, we had over 300. And so it's a program that I'm very excited about. I was lucky in my upbringing that I got an appreciation and a love for the outdoors and nature. And for so many of our kids, when they arrive at D-Bar A and climb off that bus, it's the first time that they've ever been in an outdoor experience. And so it's always enjoyable for me to see their reactions, as well as a lot of the parents. Many parents accompany their children to on that field trip, and sometimes their eyes are just as big as their kids when they're getting to experience, whether it's the horseback riding or climbing the towers or many other things that they're getting to experience for the first time. And so I enjoy witnessing those experiences firsthand, as well as a lot of times I take donors up there to have an opportunity to see young people getting to have that experience in our outdoor land laboratory, I like to call it. I want to talk just a couple of minutes about the new reality that we all find ourselves in. I spend a lot of my time over the last several weeks. We joked when this first started, you're seeing me through my laptop that I had owned for some time and never figured out how to operate the camera, never had it hooked up to where it could access Boy Scout folders from my home. And so one of the things that's come out of this new reality is hopefully increased business efficiency and effectiveness of VIC working and supporting volunteers. But what it has done is because of the fact that I can walk down and open up my laptop and start work very early in the morning and work until late at night, my days are very long. And kind of joked when it first started that I wasn't surprised over the first few weeks that I was working 65 or 70 hours a week. But now here we are almost 2 months into it. And now I'm working 80 hours a week because with everything that's going on, we want to make sure that when we're given the green light to go forward, that we have lots of plans in place to help us do that. And we get new information all the time that influences how we might be able to go forward. Certainly the biggest threat that we are responding to now or coming up with multiple plans to how to go forward is when we're given the green light, summer camping is a big part of the Boy Scout experience. And it's certainly something that our young people work all year to prepare themselves for. And it's kind of the reward at the end of a long year of book learning and things focused on leadership skill developments and service and those things. And as you can imagine, we have a wide array of contingencies of a rolling calendar of what and how we might provide that program whenever we are given the green light to go forward. And so I've spoken to a lot of our leaders over the last weeks, and although many of them have enjoyed the family time, they are also looking forward to having an opportunity to get out with great enthusiasm. And so they're extremely hopeful that we will be given the green light to go forward with some of our programs. And so some of those programs are things that are put on by the Michigan Crossroads Council and organized at the state level. As you might imagine, when you're talking about food service and medical services and all those things, that you need to have when people come and spend, 3 or 4 or 6 nights at one of your facilities. There's some critical deadlines coming up on us of if we're going to be able to provide those resident camp programs this year. There's a deadline looming on us. And so that's certainly a tremendous potential consequence to us. Our summer camping programs across the state generate over $2 million of revenue for us every year. And so there's a lot of revenue streams that certainly are unknown and under some degree of uncertainty for this year. And so if we have to take out $2 million, which again, other than the Boy Scout popcorn sale, is the single largest source of revenue for us, it's going to make some interesting times and some interesting decisions for the balance of 2020 and probably spilling into 2021. Speaking about those support, one of the things that I was so humbled when John and Dave and Brian and a few other members of the club came to our big Boy Scout fundraiser that we had back in February. That seems 100 years ago, and certainly at that time we had a lot more optimism of what the year was going to look like. And we've been lucky over the time that we've been shut down. We're still calling and talking to people who've supported us over the years, and people continue to make pledges and contributions to us. But what is very uncertain at this point is what the business community is going to be able to do. The business community has been extremely generous with our programs, both through support of direct donations, as well as participating in things like golf tournaments and sporting clays. And we've got a Citizen of the Year event and a dodgeball tournament that takes place down on Campus Martius. All those type things have been pushed into the summer and fall. And we're hopeful that people will still come out and continue to support those things as they've done so generously in the past. But the unknown is that all of the nonprofit community is moving their opportunities into that same compressed calendar. And in addition to the fact that businesses will have lots of choices, they're also obviously going to have less profits to deal with, and they're going to have some tough decisions to make. And so we are, certainly we don't have a crystal ball what that's going to look like, but we're hopeful that we'll continue to generate the funds that we need to continue and sustain that growth. Speaking of that growth, we've got a number of different scenarios in play that, springtime is one of our big recruiting periods. And when we get in and talk to kids before school lets out to talk to about the summer camping opportunities and other things that take place over the summer, whether it's visit to ball games or the zoo or other things. But we didn't get to do that this year. And there's also some question, if the school year opens on schedule, are they going to let organizations like the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and others in to talk about their programs? And if they don't, how are we going to recruit young people into our midst? Each year that I've been here, between the months of September and November, we have welcomed somewhere in the vicinity of 5,500 new young people into our ranks each year. And so if we can't do those recruitings at schools, how do we adjust our programs to still give families a chance to experience all of the benefits that scouting has to offer? And so I'm spending a lot of different times working on scenarios of how we do that. We noted that Wendy and Reagan have the technical competence to support a meeting like this. Vic doesn't have that skill. And a lot of our volunteers that are out there working with the program need to have the tools available to figure out how they reach through social media and other things to talk about opportunities and to give people to participate in virtual programs before they can get back out into the outdoors. And so we're working on that. I'm working on a number of different scenarios, like all businesses. I've been shut down since the middle of March. And so people aren't coming in off the street to buy uniforms and books and awards and all those things. And when we're given the green light to go forward, how do I protect my employees? How do I operate the store? How do I do all those other things? And so I've got a group that's working on when we are given the green light to go forward, how do we make our facility functional to support those things? You know, I noted that I've had a new way of conducting business over the last several weeks, and I get questions sometimes of when we are given the opportunity to go forward with the new normal, will we go back to doing everything the way that we did in the past? Will we be able to? Which are the things that we've learned over the past few weeks of maybe conducting meetings via Zoom or other ways is a more efficient use of people's time and money to accomplish the same business, and where are the ones that face-to-face still needs to take place. We've got a number of you know, when the construction industry shut down, it impacted lots of people that work in those industries, and it affected businesses like mine that were getting ready to do I had some capital dollar donations raised over the last year and a half or so that we were going to be updating our office downtown with particularly some technology upgrades that will enable us to better communicate and serve our volunteers, as well as we have a lot of outside organizations that utilize the Boy Scout office because of its location, and it's modern compared with lots of buildings down in there, but we're upgrading some of those things. And so that stuff was put on hold. When the construction industry comes back, where will we be on the pecking order? Because as you can imagine, some of the projects that we have are, one, we're cheap. We want to get a deal on everything that we're looking to have done. And some of them are rather minor. And so as people are looking for a way to maximize profit for the balance of 2020, how's that going to influence us on the pecking order of updating our facilities? And I'm always concerned with our ability to, you know, we talk about virtual programs and things like that we've had people participating in. When we have activities scattered throughout the city, I'm always inviting people to those events so that they have a chance to see our young people with smiles on their face experiencing the programs and an opportunity to talk to parents. We haven't had any of those things over the last several months, and when we go back to where will be the best opportunities to bring people back out. We count on volunteers. Very difficult to recruit volunteers to an organization when you don't have an opportunity for them to get out and experience and see what some of those impacts are in the lives of young people. And so I look forward to when that returns. You know, talking about a different way of doing business as an eternal bachelor, one of the greatest adjustments that I had is I had 12 to 15 meal meetings a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner meetings, and have had for the better part of 30 years. And so you can imagine the poor shock that my body endured being forced to eat my cooking on a repetitive basis for many weeks and now spilling into months. As opposed to many of you, I have not gained weight, and I look forward to a return to a better diet. So whenever we get the green light to go forward, I can assure you those that are willing to set up meal meetings again, that those will commence back on full schedule. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention, you know, some of you have reached out to me and asked for comment when we've been seated together at lunch. the Boy Scouts of America's national office is still in the process of filing bankruptcy. Actually, they've already filed it. It's at the point now that the judges have been selected, and they're trying to figure out some of the timetable and some of the requirements to go forward with that. That's not Great Lakes Field Service Council, and that's not the Michigan Crossroads Council. We are not declaring bankruptcy. And a lot of people, though, become confused about the distinction. And so we're very careful to explain and share the materials that we can that talks about those things. One of the few good things about COVID-19 is it's probably accelerated some of the things in the bankruptcy. A lot of the plaintiffs and the plaintiffs' attorneys want to get this behind them. And so it would appear that this may move to a conclusion a little quicker than what we might have anticipated. And so whatever the reorganization and the end result will be, could take place in 2020 so that we can figure out what the new organization in Dallas looks like and how we'll support all those things that we've been doing and the volunteers that we've had over the years. I want to thank the club as well. The club has provided some support to a number of different things that the Scout program and family has put on over the years, whether that be contributions for individual Eagle service projects, whether that be for financial assistance for needy Scouts or some of the service projects that the council puts on. And as I noted earlier, some of you have reached into your own pockets. And so I am very grateful for all the things that you've done. And I know a number of you have had other volunteer roles over the years in support of our young people. So with that, I'm going to shut up and see if there's any questions. And if not, then we still concluded the meeting on time.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Vic. I know that as you were speaking and generating questions in my mind, in the next sentence or paragraph, you resolve many of those. But let's open it for questions now. And Reagan, do you have a full screen there? Can anybody raise their hand if they have a question? And Reagan, you can unmute them.
Yeah, or they can unmute and talk
Unmute.
away. Yep.
Oh, very good. Any questions?
He was very thorough.
Yeah. While you're thinking of those, Vic, let me ask you, was it about 2 years ago that actually the name of the Boy Scouts of America became known as Scouts BSA?
That's right. Not sure that it was as long as 2 years ago, but certainly within the last 2 calendar years, they did, once they started letting young ladies into the program, that they did switch from Boy Scouts of America to Scouts BSA.
Very good.
That was the reason behind that decision.
Hey, Vic, this is John. I've got a question. Are you doing anything in particular for COVID relief?
There's a couple of different things that our Explorer program has done to try and collect some of the items that the first responders in particular need, whether it's masks or other protective gear. And so because the Explorer program is based a lot more within the workplace, they have a lot more contacts in some of those businesses. And so that's the specific thing that we've done. I have become aware of some things that some individual units have been doing within their own ranks to either produce the face masks or things like that. But but we've been very careful since we have been supporting the governor's order to stay in place. We want to be very careful not to do anything that might appear to encourage our people to get out in the community.
Thank you, Vic. Any other questions?
I do have a question. Vic,
Yes,
how are the scouts going to address, if things do continue to move in the virtual realm, how are we going to support our members who might not have the technical advantages? I know we're working on some programming in Detroit and Pontiac. What are we doing to address continuing to have reach with those youth and the inequity of the availability of equipment?
I'm going to be honest. I haven't spent a lot of time figuring out how we might deal with the individual home element. So much of my focus has been on my own employees and adjustments that I've already had to make in that respect. And we put together every time there's a number of task forces that I've been working with over the past weeks with members of not only the local board here in Detroit, but the board across the state to figure out how we might do those things. And I think that if we become faced with the reality that schools don't open again in the fall, I'm hopeful that we're going to get advance enough warning that we'll be able to create hopefully some much more creative things, particularly with some of the initiatives that DTE and the Skillman Foundation and others have announced over the past few weeks about how they're helping to break down some of those barriers, particularly in the area of technology.
Very good. One last question? Anybody?
Well, I wonder, I'm staying here.
Imagine trying to do this when you have a 1 hour. Oh, shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Am I done? Shut up.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, real quick.
I'm just wondering about people having the internet in their houses. If you got to have a fair number of dollars to just provide that in your home. I think it's easier to get maybe a used computer, but you've got to pay a monthly fee to have the internet, and that would be the biggest barrier to me, to have that set up for people. Is there some system in the world that helps that for people?
Yeah, that was when DTE and Skillman announced the partnership. They realized that it wasn't just a question of equipment. It was also a commitment to provide the internet connectivity for a period of time. And so that is part of the package that they're putting together. I have not seen what the launch plan or how they would propose to allow individuals to take advantage of that. But again, if we go forward and we know that we're going to have to become much more creative and aggressive in that forum, certainly I'll look to get more information. We do have good friends and partners with both of those organizations.
Well, thank you, Vic, and thank you. We appreciate your valuable time spending it with us and educating us on such an important organization. Before we conclude, I wanted to mention quickly that all of you can expect to receive from Chris McLogan and or Richard Chapek an email going out today relating to our club's board of directors elections. This will be in part a ballot. So if you could return the ballot on or before this Thursday, May 7th, to Chris and or Richard Chapek. Again, it's voting for our upcoming board of directors. We have certain vacancies, and this is our group. All right. We're going to conclude with Smile. Bill Roy, if you would lead us out on that, and the rest of us will mute and we'll be concluding. Thanks, Bill.
All right, thanks, John. All right, everybody. Smile, and the world smiles with you. Sing a song. Don't be worried, just be cheery all day long. Whenever your trials, your troubles, and your cares seem to be more than you can really bear, smile, and the world smiles with you. Sing a song. Hey!
Good. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Linda, President of Troy. Thank you, Dave, President of Romeo. Our next meeting will be virtual next Monday, May 11th at noon. And be safe, take care of yourselves. And as Rotarians, as we say, get out there and connect the world. Thank you very much. Enjoyed being with all of you next week. Thank you. Goodbye.
Third Thursday.
Bye.
Third Thursday.
Third
Thursday.
Thursday.
See you next
Or
Thursday.
5:30. Watch for your
Brian,
email.
I just sent out the email to everybody with the information. You're good.
Even better. There it is. We're
All
on
right.
that.
All right,
Reagan, let
Brian,
me know if I can get a mask from you.
We
Hey,
can't
Reagan,
let-
let me know if I can get a
Guys
mask
later.
from you, okay?
Yeah, I'm actually working on masks today and tomorrow. Sorry, it's been crazy. And the first one to get them is going to be Stern, George Stern, because he's
All
been
right.
asking. So, but I will get them to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Mhm.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
And a
yeah,
reminder
John,
to everybody to vote.
Do you
Yes.
want, Shepak, do you want that, what the heck is it? Survey Monkey thing? Or no, are you just gonna send emails?
Just send emails.
Works for me.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Everyone just send it to both Chris and me to make it easy.
Yes.
That way your
Goodbye.
vote counts twice.
We'll report next Monday. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Richard.
and John,
Yes, sir, Bill.
John, can you get Dave Underdown a copy of the agenda in Word so he can easily?
Yes.
Dave Underdown has it. I
Oh, you
have
do?
it. I
You-
do. The